a conviction. The writing's on the wall. Surely this won't hurt. No, not after all they've been through. We're sleeping through the storm again, for we know not what we've what I found.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Rock Bell Report, live on YouTube. If you're listening to it in podcast form, you are missing out, sir. I have myself, Buffalo Bills season ticket holder Drew Gear in studio, my producer Chris Kruger, riding shotgun Bob Kateris, host of Sports Gone Postal. How's it going, Bob?
It's going good.
First live
good.
live podcast appearance.
Yes.
Got a beer or two in you?
I'm pretty nervous.
I'm pretty nervous. Nervous about what?
I don't know. I don't want to screw up.
You
Screw
can't
what?
screw up.
You can't-
We're here.
you-
How about this? Can we? Can I give you a?
Yeah.
Get to the football. How about no?
How about this?
I got a question. Manhattan on the rocks.
Yes.
I got a question. I've had this discussion with Jessica before. Now, Drew, your truck is what, a 13?
Yeah, 2013.
So it might not. Bob, what year is your vehicle?
2014.
Oh God, you guys probably both don't have this. The gas gauge that gives you like actual miles left in your tank.
Yeah. No, I have that.
Yes,
You have that?
We
Okay.
still have it.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if it was just the gauge. Sometimes I will go out with Jessica like Saturday errands, and we'll take her Jeep, and she'll go, "Oh, we need to get gas. You still got 40 miles. We can go to your mom's house 5 times and back." Because I'll fill up the gas tank when it's like less, if barring me going to like, if I'm going to work and coming home and I've got 40 miles left on the tank, I'll fill up. But generally under 10 miles is when I go to the gas station. What say you guys?
I'm the complete opposite. When it's at half, I'm like, it might snow. I got to fill up. Yeah, I'm losing. I'm like, I'm not.
Meanwhile, I'm Kramer, right? Like, I'm Cosmo Kramer. I want to ride that thing to the E. I want to see how close, like Molly Hatchet, I want to flirt with disaster. I want to see how close to dying on the side of the road my truck can get before I have to put $1 of gas in that.
You're nuts. Not in Buffalo winter.
I love it. I don't know what it is, but it just adds like a thrill. Like it gives me a little something. Chris, can you turn this up in my fancy new headphones?
I do this thing where if I'm getting gas, I'll send Jessica a picture message that says like 3 miles to go. And she'll be like, how do you live your life? No, I'm not one of those people that are going to fill up with 30 miles left on the tank.
You know what you hit her with?
Yeah.
You hit her with the Fast and Furious like a badass. Like, I live my life 1/4 mile at a time, babe.
Well, usually when it says 30, you got 30 miles left, then the light comes on.
Yeah.
So you don't know if you have 29 or 10 or 5.
I like to live dangerously. You know that, though. You've been friends with me for how long? Guys, those of you never heard of it.
About 20 years.
Sports Gone Postal, new sports podcast. My friend Bob, who I've known for the better part of 2 decades, one of my groomsmen in my wedding alongside Chris. We were actually just laughing earlier about the whole tuxedo fitting and how I'm a dumb ape and I have ridiculous arms for someone who's this short. I love the fact that you got into sports podcasting. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about it right off the top?
Sports Gone Postal. Bunch of mailmen. We are mailmen for a living. So all day long, you work by yourself. So all day, I'm listening to sports, podcasts, or you're talking with your buddies about sports. I'm like, what? Why can't we do a podcast? And then it's one of us, I don't know who, Sports Gone Postal. Like, okay, it's got a nice little...
It's got a ring to it?
Yeah.
I like though how you started it and then you came in here today and you were like, oh, I don't want to mess up. I was like, I don't think you know what we do here, sir. All we do is make a mess out of this thing.
Well, look at this studio.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
It's gorgeous, ain't it? So your show, where can people find it? Where can they follow you on social?
We are on Twitter or X, Sports Gone Post, at Sports Gone Post, Sports Gone Postal. It's me in the NWO shirt with other two buddies in the NWO shirt going.
All the wrestling references.
Because we talk a little bit about wrestling too. WrestleMania. Hey, let's talk about it.
They talk all sports. So if
all
you want
sports. Caitlin Clark is
Olympics,
popular.
Hockey.
Mostly Bills and Sabres, but randomly. And you can call into our show. There's an app on it. You can find us on my Twitter page.
Memo.fm/sportsgonepostal, guys. You can
Yes.
leave them voicemails. They'll take your calls. They'll talk about it. In fact, we're going to get into that. We're actually going to use it to bring back the WGR whiner line.
Perfect.
We want the rants and raves and the drunken screamings of people because, listen, I do enough of it for all of us. I want to hear from you guys.
Exactly.
So we're going to open it up for the regular season and let people have their say. Whoever is our call of the week not only gets airtime, but also is going to find themselves the recipient of some Q42 stuff. It's going to be pretty cool. We're going to do it all season long.
It might be me every week.
It might be not every week. Guys,
At
go,
like midnight, I'll be screaming.
go check them out if you like the cut of his jib over the course of tonight's show. I love that he's here. Like, this is fun that I get to do this with you. After all these years, we finally got you in. Now, we're here to talk about the Buffalo Bills at Pittsburgh. Because there's a lot to talk about in terms of the game. I want to start off with some quick hits. Just a little stock up, a little stock down. First of all, you know whose stock is plummeting? Steelers offensive tackle Broderick Jones and his self-esteem. Like, that dude got punked on TV. It happened to you in front of everyone. I feel bad. Like, I tweeted out a question. I asked, does anybody know if him and Greg Rousseau had beef before this? Because he gave him like the little brother treatment. He really did. Like, it was mean what he did to him on national TV.
What do you have, 2.5 sacks?
2.5 sacks, all while Broderick Jones was trying to block him. And also like another pressure. He had a tackle for a loss. Like, it was just ugly what Greg Rousseau was doing to their line. He looks good.
Good. We need him to.
He
First
looks
round pick.
He looks very good entering the season so far. And what I like is that it's not just, you'll see this sometimes with defensive ends. You'll see that they come into a season and they have like a hot start because, oh, I learned a new technique. Or I figured this other thing out. Or I found a couple advantageous matchups. Like, there's been times where there's defensive ends in the past who maybe weren't great. Like, Chris Kelsey was probably the guy I think about when I think of this, where he would get off to like a game where he had 2 pressures and a sack, and then he'd follow it up with another game where he had a sack, and they were all early in the year when we thought things were still going to be good for the Bills. And you'd go, this is the year. This is the year Chris Kelsey's going to be awesome, or at least a good player for us. And then eventually he would just turn back into like a guy who's
team.
yeah.
Trent Edwards are 4-1. Yeah. We were 7-9 for 15 years straight.
The things that Greg Rousseau did in that game to win were all things that he's been doing. He's just doing it at a much higher level than he's ever done it before. That's the encouraging thing. When you watch him, like, we all know he's a big, strong, physical defensive end. But when you watch him beating a guy, like, literally, I saw the tweet. I think it was a guy from WGRZ, or maybe it was WKBW, one of the local sports channels. He tweeted out a clip of Rousseau's second sack where they go to lock horns, and he literally, Groot just grabs a hold of Broderick's wrists, like you would if a small child was trying to attack you. He grabbed his wrists and pushed him, and he immediately was already hopping on one foot. In the NFL, if you're ever on one foot, it's going to be a long day. Like, you shouldn't ever, you should have both feet firmly on the
Why
ground.
did I think of Kramer and karate with the kids? We're in the same class.
We're in the same class, technically. He grabbed that guy and just threw him off of his feet. And the guy tweeted out the clip and went, oh, he threw Broderick Jones right out of the club. Like, he just tossed him out the front door.
Good, we need it.
And then
You don't
ramped
know
up
how
and
long
sacked the
Von
quarterback.
Miller's going to be here. He's got to
I mean, it's hilarious.
step up.
3 pressures allowed, 2 sacks to Rousseau, 3 other pressures, 2 other quarterback hits beside Rousseau's. Broderick Jones had a dog shit night. And I think it's one of the funniest like, watching him get punked over and over again was really cathartic.
Ralph Wilson in the comments, Solomon punked him too.
Solomon got him
And then
too.
James Payne called, I can't see because there's an emoji in the way, but it looks like James Payne said Broderick Jones was bunghole juice.
bunghole juice.
What is this now? I haven't heard that term since 1997.
You allowed to say it on the show?
Say whatever
Must
I
have
want.
heard it on Beavis and Butthead.
I was going to say, that's a 97. This guy must be older. I'm going to go ahead and guess that guy is probably 42. Because you have to be you have to have been a teenager in the late 90s to know that reference. Somebody whose stock is up is Ray Davis at running back 2. Ray Davis, in the first game, it was hard for any of the running backs to find any traction. The line just had a terrible day.
58.
58! Yes, got him! See, I know. So, Chris, can you turn my headphones up just a little bit?
Yeah.
I need some snare. I need some snare in my
A
headphones.
few people are saying through the mailman world he might be the starter by week 10. What do you think of that?
Well, here's what I'd say. First of all, it's the preseason. Let's not get excited.
All right,
We've
all
done
right.
this to ourselves too many times.
There's a lot of rumors in the mailman world.
I took the preseason pledge, right? I raise my right hand and I do solemnly swear that I will not overreact to preseason football performances too much. Like, that's the preseason pledge. But with that said, what I liked seeing about Ray Davis this week compared to last week he didn't have a lot of opportunities as a runner, but when he got the ball in his hands, he ran hard. He ran down onto the guys who were trying to approach him, and you could see he had his contact balance is really good. And he had an understanding of, this guy's coming to tackle me, and I know that I'm fluid enough that I can start to cut away from the contact. So when he touches me, he's going to touch me, but I can bounce off and get some more yards. And that keyed a couple of his biggest runs of the night was just, I'm going to get touched, but I'm going to change my direction right before the contact so he can't actually stop my progress and bring me down. There was a couple times where the guys had their arms out trying to arm tackle him, and he's just blowing through them. It's kind of putting everybody on notice. This guy might not be built like Latavius Murray, but he runs with enough power that if he's running, you cannot afford to not square him up. Because if you're just trying to arm tackle, he's going to keep running.
Is this tandem kind of Singletary, Zach Moss?
I think is much better than that. I mean, you're talking about James Cook, a running back who finished with stats that were, in some categories.
Was a similar kind of smaller back, bigger back.
But he was similar to Christian McCaffrey in some of his metrics.
Okay.
Now, I'm never going to call him, like Chris sent me a text the other day. It was one of the funniest things. Chris, what was it? What was the nickname that you believed we all should have been calling Christian McCaffrey all along?
Oh, yeah, Derry Sanders. How about that?
He goes, why aren't we calling this guy Derry Sanders? I'm never going to put him in that conversation because I hate it when people do that. In fact, we're going to talk about that in a little bit here on the show as we get into the Joe Andreessen stuff.
That's what I'm here for.
But I don't want to start saying, like, oh, he is this guy. But he's a very highly productive NFL running back, James Cook is. What I see is that Ray Davis, when running between the tackles, is very comfortable. He understands contact balance. He understands how to use his leverage as a runner. And when he gets going, his yards after contact can be impressive. Now, whether or not our line gives him the opportunity to do that in a real game against starting defensive linemen in a starting front seven, I don't know. If TJ Watt's playing in that game, maybe things look a lot different. I don't know. If their starting nose tackle plays more snaps when Ray Davis is on the field, is this a different conversation? I don't know. So I'm not going to overreact to it, but what I'm going to say is I liked the approach philosophically that Ray Davis brings to football. The way you can see him follow his blockers well. He finds his crease. He knows how to press it to the inside well, or at least away from the nearest point of contact. And then when you do make contact with Ray Davis, he's already setting you up if you miss the tackle. Like, hey, I'm going to hit him. Maybe he goes down. But Ray Davis is already pivoting his hips and starting to cut. So if you do make contact with him and you don't bring him down, he's off for another 3, 4, 5 yards, maybe more. I think that he's made the case that everyone loves Ty Johnson, but I think Ty Johnson at this point might just be running back 3. I've never seen Ty Johnson look as impressive as Ray Davis did in the preseason. Have you?
No.
Chris, would you be unhappy? Cook, Davis, each getting, let's say, week 1, week 2 roll around, especially knowing what's happening with our wide receiver injuries right now. It's not out of this world to say each one gets 15 touches. Would you be mad at that?
No, I'm fine with it. I mean, they've Beans put in the draft capital with Cook and Davis. Davis Saturday looked like he was running with a purpose. It's almost
Running with a purpose is always funny because I feel like, you know who runs with purpose? Guys who are fleeing the police. You know who runs with purpose? Guys who don't want to get set on fire or who are being chased by bears. Like, these are the people who are running with a purpose. This guy he likes the game of football.
I think
That phrase running with a
He
purpose
wants
is
to
always
make sure he makes a team. You know what I mean?
I think when I say running with a purpose, also comes with an understanding of the plays that were being called. Maybe with the Bears, he wasn't unsure. He was unsure of, you know, the line, how the line was supposed to play, which hole he was supposed to go through. Saturday, a little bit more knowledge of the playbook.
Too. Nervous.
Kind of like you right now.
Exactly.
Are you the Ray Davis of podcasting?
I am.
You're a little nervous in your first
Yes.
outing. You're loosening up in your second go around. We just recorded a show earlier tonight.
We just
got to
get-
going to hear.
We just got to get you drunk and then call Stephanie to come
feeding
get
me
you.
beers, so now I'm loosening it up.
I mean, that's the beauty of this show. This is
Stephanie
what we do.
already said, send me the address, just in case I have to pick you up. I swear.
I love your wife. Here's the thing, too. Ray Davis made a point of saying that one of the things that really motivated him going into this game was that offensive line coach Aaron Kromer was giving him crap during the week. I love that. People don't talk about enough. I think we did last year, or at least 2 years ago, when we brought in Aaron Kromer, and everyone was like, well, I thought the line was supposed to get better because Kromer was here. And then last year, our offensive line was 4th in run block win rate. And everyone goes, oh, that's the Kromer thing we've been talking about. Yeah, it takes some time. He's a very good position coach.
Hey,
And then you hear that he's chiding the running backs and getting them to be like, hey, if I can bully a bunch of guys who are 3 times my size into doing their jobs well, I bet you I can bully that running back into doing his job better. And also, if some 15-year-old comes along and takes a look at my chairs, I'm going to smash that kid too.
You need toughness. Just at the Sabres, their coach. Now we got Lindy Ruff.
Yeah, look, you need a little toughness.
Old school, not it's okay.
A little. This is football.
We'll
man.
get him next time. No.
No.
You suck. Go sit on the bench.
You're not playing patty cake out here.
So
What do
already
you
in
got,
the
Chris?
comments, because we've already made a couple Seinfeld references. Bob Lauren is already referring to you as Newman, and then
I love it.
James Payne, 58-year-old James Payne, says Davis reminds him of MJD, Maurice Jones-Drew, the way he runs.
He's small. He's compact. I like that comp. I mean, I don't think he'll have if he has that career, it'll be nuts.
Fantasy legends.
Do you remember the muscle hamster?
Yes, I do.
Doug Martin.
I think
Yep.
more of Doug Martin, but
Tampa, Oakland, yeah.
but I'll tell you what, if you give me MJD out of that pick, dude,
MJD, he's borderline Hall of Famer.
So
what?
Ray Davis will be carrying the mail for Buffalo by Game 5. Is that
Oh!
I love it.
Ralph Wilson in the comments?
Wow.
You know whose stock is down? The Gabe Stevenson fan club. Oh, you all have to suck it. That guy got 1 snap. He got 1 snap in his second attempt at showing he can be an NFL football player. You all need to. Everyone's like, you're a stodgy old man. You don't understand. Players can learn. They can adapt from other sports. I am a stodgy old man. You all need to get the hell off my lawn. Gable Stevenson will never be a football player. He will never be an NFL football player. He might not even make the Olympic flag football team.
I was just going to say, what about the flag football team we were just talking about? He might be good, with no pads. The pads come on, you don't got it.
The problem is it's not having it. You don't understand the mechanics.
Yep.
Do you know the leverage? It's not just wrestling. Do you understand the nuance of leverage that goes into playing football? It's highly specialized. You have to understand the strike zone for an offensive lineman when it comes to an opposing defensive lineman. You have to know how to get into his chest, under his pads, and drive. Or, depending on what the play calls for, sometimes you have to not... It's not that you're going to let him penetrate past you, but you want him to get a little upfield so you can turn his body and create a crease for your running back to flow through. Everything is play dependent, and each section of what you do as an offensive lineman requires a different technique. It's the same thing on the defensive side. They have to know how to defend against that. They have to have the physicality to see that move coming, diagnose the play in real time, and then keep that guy from manhandling them. If you don't know what techniques are involved, how are you supposed to defend against him?
Drew, I don't know if you know this. He can lay flat on his back and then just jump up right to his feet. That's pretty impressive.
It's not impressive. It's called a kip. And I swear to God, one of these days I'm going to do one. I'm going to do one just to prove he's not special.
You reminded me of Shawn Michaels.
The fattest Shawn Michaels I've ever seen. I will say, as a caveat, I had it in here. You know, if it wasn't for Quentin Morris's injury, you know who else's stock would be down is the Zach Davidson fan club. But now, all of those idiots who were just parroting every WGR host, oh, Zach Davidson's going to be hard to keep off this roster. They might be right. If Quentin Morris is actually injured, and with the wide receiver injuries we have, I may have to eat crow and just admit that there is a place on this football team for this idiot fourth tight end.
Are they even going to play? Quentin Morris, are they going to play?
He's
you got Kincaid.
He's a core special teamer.
Okay, I'm just saying.
But this is it. He doesn't play special teams. I had said it weeks ago. On this,
your fourth tight end, what are they doing?
They do nothing for you. They get water, is what they do.
Have two tight ends. Have your second tight end be the special team guy.
They play the scout team, is what they do.
It's like ridiculous.
And so for me, I still look at it, and there's a part of me deep down in my soul that goes, even if it came down to Quentin Morris is going to miss the first month of the regular season, give me Justin Shorter. You want to know why? Justin Shorter can play special teams. You know what Zach Davidson can't do? Play special teams. It's a no-brainer. This is a guy who is a core special teamer. It's why you had him on the roster and let him play a ton of those snaps. Putting a third tight end on the roster just to do it doesn't make any sense. There's a few years ago, the Bills went into the season with Dawson Knox and Tommy Sweeney as the only tight ends on the roster. There still exists a world, even with the Quentin... God, need a little beer here. A delicious Utica Club.
How about Tank Ninja in the comments? Depends on how much they end up using 12 personnel.
Sure. And I think the idea is they want to do that, but Quentin Morris isn't your run blocker. Quentin Morris isn't your pass catcher. Quentin Morris was a dude who you could put out there in weird red zone packages because you wanted to go multiple tight ends. And then also you wanted him on kick coverage. But now the kick coverage has changed. I don't even know what that's worth. So with that being said, I would take a Justin Shorter just for his special teams ability and his run blocking ability over a Zach Davidson.
And Shorter's big enough, isn't he?
He's giant.
Yeah. Looks like Terrell Owens.
Like Duke Williams.
There's another one.
This is going to be a big week for the Zach Davidson fan club because he's going to have an impressive showing. He has to do something that makes the team forget that he can't block and doesn't play special teams. That's his only path to the roster because otherwise there's too much to do to have a guy who... Remember when the Bills drafted Jonathan Williams in the 5th round and he played for the team for a couple of years when that was a Rex Ryan era pick. And then Sean McDermott showed up and he got cut. And he got cut because he was a third string running back that didn't play special teams. And McDermott said, well, I don't need you then. What do we got here? Jonathan Williams?
Yeah.
Buffalo, 2016, 2018. Yeah, so 2017, he got cut. He didn't get to play. He was not on an NFL roster. Because Sean McDermott showed up and said, hey, it's cool that you're like the second running back here. What else do you do? And,
Exactly.
And they're
They
like,
just get rid of
well,
these
he's
guys.
like, well, I run. He goes, yeah, but do you play teams?
Use an extra cornerback.
Fine. Yeah, he's like, I could use all the defensive help I can
Yeah.
get.
Pass happy league. I need more corners.
So with that said, Zach Davidson's got some work to do. And all of his stands out there and all you idiots with fake check marks next to your names, I pray to God this happens the way I want to, because I want to be able to dance. I want to be able to tap dance all over it. I've got receipts, and I can't wait to do it because we are the Pettiest Bills podcast. This is what we do. A guy whose stock is up, Daquan Hardy, kick returner and punt returner, but also defender.
Who is it
Daquan Hardy.
between him and Hamler?
I think at this point it's him and Isabella. But here's
Okay.
what I'll say. I don't care so much, right? Like McDermott came out this week and threw a bunch of shade at Daquan Hardy about his decision, and he's not wrong. Did you see
Yep.
what he did with that one return?
No, I didn't.
He almost
I
got
did not.
safetied.
Okay.
You can't do that.
That's not good.
It was just a bad call on his part. And I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to make a play. But in McDermott's mind, he's like, if I can't trust you to make sound choices, I can't have you in that role. So he came out and was just like, well, this week everyone's trying to be like, hey, look at Hardy. You let him take all the kicks. And he threw cold water all over it. He was like George Costanza. You expected him to come out with a rager, and he came out like he was just in the pool. McDermott was like, no, it's going to be fine, but also I'd like to see better decision making and blah, blah, blah. What I will say is we do know that Sean McDermott loves players who have versatility. I can do multiple things for you in a pinch. It's his actual cornerback play that's going to make him it's going to make him a very hard cut. And I think if he does it well this weekend, it almost cements his spot on the roster. I mean, he's a slot corner that they made go play on the boundary against George Pickens. And he did well. That play, do you remember watching the play where Mike Tomlin challenged whether the catch was inbounds or out of bounds?
Yes.
I was mad about it in the moment because I go, holy crap, that was great coverage from a dude who shouldn't be out there. He's too small. He shouldn't be playing on the boundary.
Is he making the team as a corner or
Well, and I think this is it.
kick return?
I think it's returner. But the fact that he can do what he did out there on the field as a corner, the fact that he did that so well, I think that's what makes him indispensable.
Okay. Isabella gone?
Well, a couple things. Look, underrated ball skills. If you look at his college stats, right, he finishes the game with multiple pass breakups. And everyone goes, oh, man, I didn't know he could jump on routes like that. Now, he didn't pick him off, but he swatted him down. Okay? Everyone used to laugh at Trey White about that. I think that's why he didn't go higher in the draft, is because Trey White didn't get a lot of collegiate picks. But he had a lot of pass breakups, which kind of underscored, like, hey, I know what to do when the ball is in the air. The last 3 seasons, he had at least 2 interceptions, and 2 of the last 3 seasons, he had 7 pass breakups each season as a nickel. So if you're playing slot, like those are a lot of slant routes, a lot of short stuff that's hard to jump a route and break up the pass. He has a head for what to do when the ball is in the air, and that Pickens route, he showed it. I'm going to track this guy down the sideline. I'm going to stick with him. I'm going to look back to make sure I know where the ball is and I don't get flagged for pass interference, but I'm going to play him as physically as they'll allow me to, even though he's almost half a foot taller than me. And he rode that dude straight out of bounds. And when they threw the challenge flag, I was like, they're going to rob this kid of what was an awesome play. I was happy it stood. Keeping him around insulates you. Because if you ever need Cam Lewis to play safety, which right now, Mike Edwards is kind of coming back.
Well, it's
Week to week.
Cole Bishop is practicing today, so maybe this is the. But if you ever need Cam Lewis to come in and play safety, who's your backup nickel? Wouldn't it be nice if you knew you had a cornerback who could play outside, play backup nickel? Oh, and by the way, he's already here because he's our kick returner.
You need those guys. Play hybrid.
I
Play
thi-
everything.
I think as long as Hardy doesn't make any glaring mistakes this weekend, I think he's got that job wrapped up.
Yeah,
Just-
James Payne said Hardy's going to be Tehran's backup.
Now, what I'll say is from this game, there was a lot to look at, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. It sounds childish, but I think that's the best way to look at these sorts of things. The good, well, that's easy. It was the second string linebacker play. And let's get into this. The legend of Joe Andreessen. Let's talk about it, baby.
Yes.
It's been the thing that everyone's talking about between Twitter. There's memes. The legend of Joel Andreessen is already spreading. You know, Greg Thompson and
Joe
Bruce Nolan.
Andreessen.
Joel, it doesn't matter. He hasn't made the team. I don't have to pronounce his name correctly. Until he does, and he earns a starter's jersey or at least a game day jersey, I don't have to pronounce your name right. It's like that Office Space thing. Naga, not going to be here for very long, so I don't need to say it right. Joe Andreessen. This kid comes in here out of nowhere, right? Undrafted free agent, not picked, right? He's not Dorian Williams, who you took with a
He was
third round pick.
projected a 7th round pick, and he was not
So-
drafted.
So he's not a play, but how much of that is a byproduct of going to UB? I mean
Well-
that. Like there's unless you're Khalil Mack, who everyone knew was a stud
And
nationally.
he was 5 years at Bryant University Bulldogs, and then 1 year at UB. So I was like looking this up. I'm like 6 years, like maybe a red shirt. I didn't really go into detail. I'm just assuming because of COVID, extra year. I'm like 6 years, and then you say I called you the other day. You're like, I'm gonna start calling him Van Wilder.
Van Wilder,
I'm
baby.
like, that's a great one.
How are you in college for 6 years and you don't have a doctorate? How are you in college for 6 years and you don't have Esquire on the back of your business card? What the hell are you doing, kid?
I don't know. It's 24 years old. I'm like,
Van Wilder.
And then
This kid's just going to college for the laughs.
he lives in
He's there-
Depew. He's from Depew. Went to Lancaster High School, and then just a fun fact: he made the varsity wrestling team as a 7th grader.
Wow.
Like, it's good if you're a 10th grader making varsity or 9th. 7th?
Did that? So it's
Was
one of
he
those.
80 pounds or was he fully grown?
Well, this is the question because he's not big. He's 6'1", 233, 234. So was he just full grown? Was he one of those dudes like me when I was in 5th grade? I was already 5'10".
I don't know.
I was already 5'10" and huge, so I played left guard. And then I stayed 5'10".
Chris, you
Everybody
gotta get
else
on
got-
that.
So this is the funny thing. When you're in college for 6 years, what was his major, Chris? Does it say that anywhere? Did the dude graduate with a degree? I can't wrap my head around the fact that he lived the Van Wilder of football life. Like, he just kept hanging around for the party. He refused to graduate because he was afraid to grow up.
Doesn't say
He
anything.
didn't want to have to try out for the NFL and potentially be an undrafted free agent and get cut by Philadelphia.
Doesn't say anything on his. I got his Wikipedia open. It doesn't say anything about what he graduated with, if he did graduate at all. We don't know.
If he were to have...
He's going back once he gets cut.
He's not getting cut. Listen, this is the legend of Joe Andreessen.
Practice squad.
Now, here's what I'll say. When I think about the 6 years that he spent in college, this could cut one of two ways. Either he was just in love with being in college like Van Wilder and just didn't want to leave, or it was one of those things where like he kind of had to now because his eligibility ran out. Was he sitting there going, I've been a highly productive collegiate player, but if I declare I know I'll test well, and he did. I mean, I'm looking at it right now, a 9.35 RAS score. Makes him one of the most athletic linebacker candidates in the country.
I seen that. It said 189 out of 2,800 the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Something insane. Like, why wasn't he drafted?
Incredibly
Size.
athletic. Size and production, and who did you play? That matters, right? Because we've watched crap linebackers from colleges that have big names get drafted and do poorly, whereas guys like Terrell Bernard come in and just, when they hit the ground running, it's turnkey. And you go, oh man, I crapped all over that pick. Why did it? And you're like, or Teron Johnson at Weber State. oh, because he's just good at football. And the coaches knew that they could coach him up on what they wanted him to do. So I wonder if it's just him loving the party life and loving being a collegiate
Might
student.
be because of COVID.
Because he was running shit in college. Like, I've got his numbers here. At Bryant, he was a AP second team All-American in 2022.
Lauren said he was a student of the game.
He was a student of the game. That's what it was. And look at that jawline. God, that's linebacker face.
If he makes it,
He's got 1980s football player. Like, if you threw a black and white filter right now, if you go to UB's football page and look at his player card, if you put a black and white filter on that, you could tell me he was like 1970s linebacker Joe Andreessen, and I'd believe you. He's got linebacker face. 116 tackles, top 5 in the whole country for tackles for loss that year.
I'm watching a game. He looks like Milano out there. I'm
Well,
like,
and this
what?
is it. There's a danger in this,
Like,
but
what?
2023 led UB's team in tackles and tackles for loss. He's got it up here. And this is the thing I hate. Nothing drives me crazier than when people do the thing of, well, this rookie is so much like this pro. Do you want to know why I'll always, for the rest of his career, hate Malik Hooker, the defensive back, Malik Hooker. Now he plays for the Cowboys. He was drafted by the Colts, I believe. I'll hate him forever because Lance Zierlein from NFL Network, when he was doing his draft, here's his draft profile for NFL.com. His NFL comp for Malik Hooker, having never played a game in the NFL, was Ed Reed. You don't comp a kid who's never played the game to a Hall of Famer. It makes me irate. I see that and I go, I don't care how good he was at Ohio State. This is the pros. He will not be that good.
There's so many. I remember Mel Kiper saying Jamarcus Russell is the next John Elway.
Yep.
It's just.
So I despise those players because of, and it's not their fault. It's just the praise that's being heaped on them. I understand people going, he looks like Milano. Because the thing about Milano is they're the same size, pretty much. Andreessen and Milano. They have the same, in fact, he has a better 3-cone drill, right? He has a better 40 time. He's actually more athletic than Milano was coming out of college, which is why Milano fell to the 5th round in the first place. What defines Milano's career is this. His intelligence to diagnose a play in real time and react to it. And that's where Andreessen is special. You got to watch him, first of all, at his size, fighting off blockers, offensive linemen who got through the defensive line, got to the second level. That's an easy block. He's outweighed by that guy by at least 40 pounds, if not 60 pounds. And he didn't lose those battles. He found a way to shed his blocks, get to where he needed to get to, and then while he's shedding the block, keep his eyes. That's one of the most underrated traits for a linebacker in the NFL, Chris. Is this thing where you can be getting manhandled by a dude who outweighs you. You can dispatch this guy, but while still diverting your full attention to where the hell the guy with the ball is. So you know that when I get off this block, I'm already taking the right angle to head that guy off. And you can make a lot of plays. And that's how he ended up leading the Bills in tackles this weekend, is because he knew where to be. And even when he knew it was going to be a struggle to get there, he had a plan every single time. That's Matt Milano's entire game. Is just, I'm not the most athletic. I know where to be instinctively. If you have football instincts like that and you have athletic chops, now draft pedigree goes out the window. And this is just football. Now, I could see if it's a thing where, hey, we drafted a bunch of, what's his face? Trent Sherfield, who was on the Bills last year, talked about this dynamic where he was like a late round pick or an undrafted free agent. And he was on the team and he did well and had a really good training camp. And the Cardinals had just drafted Hakeem Butler, Andy Isabella, and some other guy, Keyshawn Johnson, who was actually on the Bills practice squad last year. And because they drafted those guys, the GM was like, we have to cut this guy even though he's playing better. Because my draft picks have to be on the team.
That's bullshit. Remember,
It is bullshit.
Remember Thielen beat out Troy Williamson?
And this is how you stay a bad football team. If you throw pedigree into something, draft pedigree, and you don't let ball settle who deserves a job and who doesn't. Joe Andreessen showed everybody he belongs in the conversation for an
Might
NFL
be
job.
maturity factor too. He's 24. Remember, Tremaine Edmonds was 19.
Yeah.
He's a lot older.
He's
so
older. He's seen every. Well, of course he's older. He spent 6 years partying in college. Do you know how much?
might be 7 when he's back in college next year.
Chris, can you imagine like your 6th year in college after going out being the man on a football field, the parties that you get to go to? I wouldn't want to leave either.
So according to Jake, also known as the Super Mexican, Milano is the Malort of the team. Andreessen is the Montucky of the Buffalo Bills. I was thinking about this because my brain doesn't function properly. You know that there's probably some girl right now, because it's a Tuesday, bartending at Long Neckers, claiming to taken in this guy's virginity in high school.
That's hilarious. She's like,
Just-
yeah, you know, I'm cool. I hooked
yeah.
up with Joe Andreessen.
Yeah,
when he was
no, you didn't, Tiffany.
Can we get
Stop making
Can
that
we get
up.
her on the show?
Well, remember, do you remember what was the hockey game? I think it was Taylor Hall, and the girl held up a sign at the game, and she was like, Taylor Hall, we hooked up in high school, remember me? And he was like skating
I think
by the
that was
thing
a
like-
meme.
And he was laughing. He's like, yikes. Whoops. And the other thing that's cool about Joe Andreessen is just this Alex Tuck dynamic. Like you being a guy who talks a lot of hockey on your podcast, and it's something about getting to play. Like when you're a kid and you're looking at sports and you say to yourself, like, okay, I want to do this someday. And then it seems like it might almost be a reality, and you start getting good at it, and you start getting recruited, and you start gearing towards the big leagues. You never imagine that your shot's going to come where you get to put on the jersey of the guys who you grew up as a child idolizing.
Insane.
So this thing for Joe Andreessen is very cool. Like there's just a coolness to it. And to your point, if the team was being shrewd in a year that might be a reset, it wouldn't hurt for jersey sales to have this guy on the
Exactly. I will
roster.
be the first one to buy one from DHgate and get one of those fake Andreessen jerseys. It might be spelled wrong, but whatever. You know who he is.
They forget an S. They just forget the second S. You're like, it's fine.
Yeah, whatever. Purple. I don't care.
Has there ever been a hometown player that's made the team? Because Buffalo is not exactly a hotbed for high school football.
Here's the
talent.
fun part. Usually, if you and me are recording, I would just make the joke. Call in if you know. We don't take call-ins. Guys, in the comments, if you know, who's another Western New Yorker to ever play for the Buffalo Bills?
The only one that I know of that's like from Buffalo but didn't play for the Bills was is probably the most famous football player out of Buffalo, Ron Jaworski. He was from Lackawanna, played for the Eagles.
Well, yeah,
Never played-
Jaworski. The dude literally, like, he sounds like he should be wearing a pink flamingo suit whenever he goes on air.
Yeah.
Jaworski. Jesus.
And before I got here, I said it earlier, it's not just a Lancaster thing. Oh, Buffalo, let's try you out. Kansas City was interested before the Bills in May. I don't know what happened. I didn't look it up. I don't know if he turned him down or he actually tried out for the Chiefs.
Yeah, we didn't look into that because we don't give a fuck about Kansas City.
I'm
No,
not.
I
I'm
do.
not-
That's our competition.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people.
Oh,
No.
I just don't care.
If Bills cut him, what if Chiefs pick him up? Just like the punt god.
Here's what I'll say. Last thing
They're going to get MVS back when we cut him.
on the good. Reed got a tackle. Yes, sir. Reed Ferguson got a tackle. Guys, I bust his balls constantly about the fact that he doesn't get tackles. Do you know that his I think it was 2018. When was Mike Tolbert on the roster? It was either 2017 or 2018. He had a fumble recovery on a
Former
kickoff.
Panther, right?
Yeah, and Mike Tolbert took the ball away from him in the pile. And Reed didn't get credit for it. I was watching it live and I was like, oh, he just got robbed.
I wonder if they tell the long snapper and the punter, get the hell out of the way. Because if they get hurt, is there a backup long snapper?
Well, that's why I always give
On
Reed
the
shit
team?
about not having enough tackles.
Instead
So
of
when I s-
having 19 tight ends on the team, maybe get a backup long snapper.
So when I saw him get one in the preseason, but I was quick to remind him, preseason stats don't count. What was that guy? He just tied the NFL's longest kick with a 66-yarder. Doesn't count because it's the preseason. Reed, you and that kicker who just tied the longest kick, it doesn't matter. You got to work harder. You got to earn it.
I'm a Andreessen.
Andreessen, whatever the hell.
Number
you're-
one fan.
See, Chris,
I hope he starts.
We don't have to say it right because you're not on the team yet. I'll fix it by week 1 if you're still here, Joe.
So, friend of the show, 58-year-old James Payne, Shane Conlon from Frewsburg, New York, which is out by Salamanca.
Oh, Shane Conlon.
I never even heard of Frewsburg.
I just followed him on Twitter last night because I didn't know Shane Conlon had a Twitter account.
Don't worry, I'll unfollow
Chris,
him.
where is that?
Don't you dare. I want to know everything Shane Conlon
by
thinks about
Collins?
life.
Where's Frewsburg?
It's over by Salamanca.
Okay.
Yes, he goes to sit down there by North Collins. Damn it, he knows about the North Collins jokes.
I noticed for 20 years, Drew.
So, if we're talking about the bad, because there was some, first of all, more injuries. Why? Why can't this be? I saw people tweeting angry about like our conditioning staff. And I even saw some people asking the question. The Bills staff got high marks and won national awards for the way that they turned around our injury fortunes over like the early 2020, 2021, 2022. And the shine has really come off that. I'm questioning, though, how much of that is a byproduct of, oh no, our training staff just doesn't know what they're doing. And how much of it is that once we paid Josh, and once you start paying guys, you got to do some dumpster diving. You have to go sign players who are kind of injury prone, like a Curtis Samuel or an MVS, or you got to go find guys who have warts because that's what you can afford. So I don't know that it's that our GM is doing a poor job, and I don't know that it's that our training staff is doing a poor job. I think this is almost one of those conversations where it's necessary to go find bargain players. Well, they're a bargain for a reason. If they have a sort of like middling ceiling, there has to be some baggage, or the team that had them last year would have them back on the roster this year. We're running into year after year of this, and I think it feels worse. But what we as a franchise did was we got old between our safeties, between a cornerback who just had some really terrible luck, like a string of them. We have a linebacker who we paid and let Tremaine Edmonds go. We opted to keep Matt Milano over Tremaine Edmonds. We made our pick because they knew that the archetype of linebacker they wanted was small, compact, super athletic, so they could do coverage.
Is that why Milano was always hurt? Is he too small?
And who knows? It could just be that the years of the rigors of playing the game as physically as he does has taken a toll on his body.
Yeah.
We've watched
You're
players who had really great years, and then once they start to deteriorate physically, it happens fast. We don't know. I'm not going to say Milano's on that
Von
curve.
Miller.
But I'm saying it's the human body versus the game of football that Doug Whaley, I don't know if he was drunk that morning, but he literally said on the radio, I was driving to work. He goes, oh, the game is not meant for humans to play it. And I was like, well, that's going to be a problem. And sure enough, the whole NFL's mad at him.
Well, they say after a game, it's like getting hit in a car accident.
It's cold tubs and it's days of massage therapy. Because
Then you got a game on Thursday night. Hey, have fun.
Yeah, and then there's multiple teams this year that are going to play a game on 3 days of rest.
Take the under.
Take the under every time. So I just look at this and I go, guys, don't overreact. It's not the training staff's fault. It's our fault for having a quarterback like the quarterback we have, and for taking the shot that we took trying to sign a Von Miller, and for carrying around all of the dead cap that we just shed this year. That's what you're seeing right now is the cost of that. And then some of it's just bad luck, guys. You just have to make your peace with it.
It's going to have to happen to every team. Next year, Miami, when Cincinnati pays Chase, what are they going to do with Higgins?
They're not going to not pay him.
Exactly. Higgins, see ya. It's going to happen. Every team's going to be like this.
And then their
every
team's
single
going to start. They already told
those are in good shape because they got an extra second-round pick for Diggs at least.
They already told defensive end Trey Hendrickson they're not giving him an extension.
Is that the Vikings pick?
Yes, it's the Vikings pick,
and
which is looking
That's
good.
good.
It's
Might be a
real
very
good.
high second-round pick. Love it.
So there's a lot of teams that will be where we are. We just chose to do it early. It's like we were talking about earlier in the season. The Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs right now are at the bottom of the NFL for wide receiver spending. Do you think it's an accident? We both decided, hey, fuck it. We punt and we rebuild.
Are Bills copying them?
I don't know if we're copying
Got
them.
rid of Diggs, Hill. I
but-
want Kincaid to be Kelsey.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to find a way to rebuild the cap like we did in 2018. Except, unlike 2018, we actually have talented players already on the roster. So we can still be competitive while we just overhaul our salary cap and then open up a window where for 2 or 3 years we can spend like crazy. This is the cost. This is the cost of
It'll be
opening
fine.
up another
In my opinion,
window.
they're
And
10,
I think
11 wins.
And I think that you can easily get there as long as the injuries don't derail everything. But the worst part is the injuries weren't the ugliest part of the day. The ugliest part of the day, the backup quarterback play and just the ramifications of it. Like, how do we get past this? In the first quarter, I sent a text message to a bunch of friends.
Not me. Where's my text?
No, well, you're not. Hey, you should thank yourself. You're not in some of my group chats because I get hammered.
No, I always say it on my when my buddies are doing something. I'm like, "Where's my invite?" I didn't get no invite. It's just a little joke.
You don't want to be on this because I'm hammered and I'm just angry tweeting.
I'm in too many groups.
Yeah, that's it.
You're in 20 groups.
Yep. And I'm telling everybody, I go, how the hell was Trubisky ever a Pro Bowler? This is bullshit. And everyone goes, people who weren't
He was
watching.
drafted so high. That's why I gotta vote for him.
And then I think about it, and it's even harder thinking about all that garbage quarterback play we saw from Saturday. Somehow, two of the culprits out of that game, Justin Fields and Mitch Trubisky, both were top picks of the Chicago Bears. Think about how terrible it must be to be a Bears fan. You're like, all right, we got a lottery pick. This can't possibly destroy us. Hey, guys, it's okay. That sucked, but we've got another lottery pick. Woo!
And I love what the Steelers did. I'll take Fields for a 5th or 6th round pick. Yeah, whatever.
And then you saw him, and you understand why. Like, here's a question. Is there a worse combination of athletes trying to be quarterbacks than Russell Wilson, Mitch Trubisky, and Justin Fields?
They gotta like combine into one.
All on the same field on the same night? Like, that's garbage. That's like, in a wrestling... Chris, if you had to make a wrestling analogy for what that is that like when you made is that like the Repo Man wrestling the Brooklyn Brawler?
No, those three, that'd be the equivalent of 3 count. You remember 3 count?
No, who's it?
WCW?
No, I don't.
That was in the late 90s. It was...
Throw a picture up there for him.
Oh, yeah.
I know the 1, 2, 3 kid.
No, this is late 90s WCW.
It was all over late 90s NWO, DX.
You had Shane Helms.
Okay, Hurricane.
You had
He's a Hurricane.
Shane Helms. You had, Shannon Moore. And Evan Courageous.
Oh, this is when I turned WCW
yes.
Nitro off. And
Yeah,
I went to
this is when I see these guys.
WWE went to Raw.
That's 3 count.
I know that's Hurricane. I don't know.
The guy in the middle looks like Stephon Gilmore. Go back to that picture. He looks like Stephon Gilmore with abs.
Yeah, that's a play on having, because it's the late 90s. Everybody's into 98 Degrees, NSYNC, Backstreet
Okay.
Boys.
Oh,
So
no.
let's do a boy band wrestling trio, and that is what you get with Russell Wilson, Justin Fields,
I love
and
it.
whatever else you said. You said somebody else.
What do I get Kenny
irrelevant.
Pickett in there too?
That's it. We might as well throw Kenny Pickett
He's
out
the
here and
man. Now he's on Philly. Like, what happened?
We'll literally call it a fatal 4-way because if I have to watch those 4 assholes on one football field together, I'll die.
But that's how good Mike Tomlin is. I love Tomlin. He's got trash quarterbacks. Oh yeah, we made the playoffs. Like
He's like, oh, we finished 8-8. You're like,
all
what?
the time, 9-7 every year. Your quarterbacks suck, and you're in the playoffs.
Our one red zone possession that ended in a field goal, when you look at Mitch Trubisky playing, the route was terribly designed. I said it was the return of Rick Dennison. Guys, for those of you who don't get the reference, Rick Dennison back in 2017, Chris and I were at the Heat Wave game where the Bills played the Broncos and it was 100 and something degrees on the field. Rick Dennison called a passing play, and Tyrod Taylor dropped back to throw, and all three, it was an 11 personnel formation, and somehow downfield, all three wide receivers, it was like they called like a deep slant and then a deep cross, and all of them ended up within 5 yards of each other, and Tyrod Taylor had to just eat the ball and try to run with it because all of his running backs and all of their defensive backs just ended up. There was 10 guys within 15 feet of each
That's
other.
like me and you playing Madden.
Exactly. It's like
I go 4 verticals. Just run. Meet in the middle.
who designed this play? That play at the goal line was doomed from the start. So I don't blame Trubisky for the play. What I blame him for is not recognizing right off the bat, oh, hey, that linebacker's going to fill the flat. That safety's going to drop down. And I'm going to have 2 receiving options all at the same spot. One of them is going to be double covered.
Oh,
The second I release the football, both those guys are going to break on my ball.
that's why he's not a starter. You can't read
He
the
has
D's.
no recognition of what's happening in front of him. Zero. And that is so disheartening. And then on the play that I wanted to blame David Edwards for the sack, right? He didn't early in the game, I think it was first or second possession. He did not account for a late blitz from the second level. The linebacker comes through untouched. But Trubisky had 6 seconds in the pocket before that guy got to him. He had every opportunity to either check it down or just throw it away.
I was going to say, throw it away.
Rifle it into the stands.
away.
Instead, he froze. And then you watch the rest of the game go on and you realize, oh, every pass he does throw it's 6 yards from the line of scrimmage. He's putting no air under the ball because he's somehow, for all of his physical tools that he was drafted for, not willing to take a risk. And you watched the same thing happen to Justin Fields later in the game. It's the reason the Bills won the game is because they were unwilling to throw the ball down the field. They might have called plays. They might have called plays and said, hey, Justin, we're going to call up, there's a 9 route on a rail. Just hit the guy. Doesn't matter if he's open or not. Throw it. Let him go up and try to make a catch. And Justin Fields would see it and then look somewhere else to see if there was a more, like an easier throw, and then he'd try to run. That's why on that goal line, when it's 4th and goal, they knew it was coming. Like, Fields had already predetermined he was going to run the ball. He pulled it out way too early. And the Bills' defense was all over it and just smothered him in the backfield.
It's those running quarterbacks. Randall Cunningham said back in the day, I went back in the pocket. I just looked at the linebackers. That's all I looked at. And I ran around.
Yeah.
He's exactly what he said. And well, Trubisky, Fields, they might be doing the same thing. Like, we don't know.
But the game has evolved beyond that. You have to be able to manipulate defenders with your eyes if you want to be good in the NFL.
Exactly.
And
That's
if
why
you-
they're not starting quarterbacks.
No!
Trubisky.
But I don't even know if Trubisky's rosterable at this point. Neither. Look at this. No pass attempts of more than 20 yards downfield for any of the quarterbacks. None of them. And the worst was that sack. Just freezing under the gun. This offensive line hasn't been perfect in front of Josh Allen, and he's found a way to elevate how they look with just his awareness, his athleticism. Trubisky has to either be able to figure that out or become a quick trigger. And if he can't do those two things, then he can't be my backup quarterback. I would rather have a guy, Chris, let's be honest. If Josh Allen gets injured, who's coming in here and taking this team to 11 wins?
Well, that depends on injury length, but I feel like Bean has this like arrogance about the quarterback room where it's just like, we have Josh Allen. That is all we need.
He's like, well, I did it. I hit a home run. What else do you want me to do?
What if
Maybe
what
get
if he
some
gets
receivers?
injured? What if he gets injured? That doesn't happen. We've got Josh Allen. He does not get injured. It's been like that the first go around with Trubisky. You weren't comfortable with Josh missing significant time the first time we had Trubisky. Even last year with Kyle Allen, you didn't want Allen to get injured. And then again this year, it's just like, we have Allen. That's it. That's all we need. That's the depth chart. Let's not put anything of significance in the quarterback room. And we need it. We need
yeah,
it bad.
because then you had to go to the street to get Ben DiNucci. And Ben DiNucci looked exactly like you would expect a guy who just picked up a playbook 4 days ago to look. And they didn't expose him to much. They ran the ball for most of the second half. I thought it was hilarious. He went out there wearing number 7. Do you know who the last Bills quarterback to wear number 7 was?
O.J.
Lossman?
Simpson.
Trent Edwards.
Oh, it's close.
No,
Lossman, too.
I thought Edwards was 5.
yeah. That was Lossman.
Was it Lossman?
Lossman was 7.
Oh, no.
Flutie 7?
Flutie was 7, but Lossman
Came after.
came after.
Why
I was
just
like, it's
got
got to
two
be
or-
Trent Edwards or Lossman. It's got to be one of them.
No, the postman was right on that one.
Look at you delivering the hard truth.
Yeah, according to Sophia,
Oh, great.
per our friends at Cover One, Trubisky is looking at 6 weeks
Good.
6 weeks for what?
to being out.
Because this
See ya.
So this brings me to my next piece of conversation.
I got a whole notebook full.
Yeah, guys, hold it up. Hold it up so the people can see it. Guys,
I'm
he
old
brought
school.
He brought
Yeah.
a notebook.
You're
It's
on
on
your
my
single.
quarter-
All of his notes.
All the quarterbacks. Sorry, Chris. Talking the mic, you told me.
Yeah.
Talking to Mike. All the quarterbacks that the Bills should trade for.
Yeah, Chris
Should I do
keeps
it right
riding
now?
this guy. Hey, tell Chris to fuck off. I do it every night.
Chris,
Yeah,
go F off.
all right. That was cute the way
All
you
right,
did
I
it.
like it. Cheers. I can drink to that.
Should I go through them?
He's got his whole notebook. Well, here's what I want to say. I've got some ideas. I want
Okay,
you to
fine.
look. No,
Forget
but
it.
no. I want you to
Forget
look at
it.
your notes.
Yeah.
Look at your notes. Let's talk about this.
You go one, I go one.
Here's what I have an idea. There are guys who you could look for at cutdown day. But when you think about what cutdown day is, I'd rather be a little more proactive about this. Not only for the short term, but the long term. Now, who are some guys who you think we could sign just as cuts? Or who are
Quarterbacks?
free agents now?
Free agents now, there's not a lot. I looked. Tannehill's a number 1.
And Tannehill wants a bunch of money.
I looked
and he
up
wants to
him
be a
because a
starter.
lot of Dolphins Twitter. I follow them.
Because you're a Dolphins
I'm a
fan.
half Dolphin, half Bills fan. Sorry. I
Right
am.
now, the whole chat just turned on you.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I looked up Tannenhill. He's waiting for an opportunity. He wants the injury. He doesn't want to be a backup.
Nope.
He's having fun with friends and family, blah, blah, blah.
So you could bring it. So here's the thing. You could
Tannehill's the
bring it-
number 1 guy. Trevor Simeon, A.J. McCarron, Brian Hoyer. Those are the top free agent quarterbacks.
Now, what if you were to make a trade?
Here are my trades. Zappy from the Patriots. Huntley from the Browns. Kyle Allen from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Case Keenum from Houston. We have Mac Jones or C.J. Beathard from the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph or Malik Willis from Titans. Trey Lance or Cooper Rush from the Cowboys. They were interested in Trey Lance a few years ago. Drew Lock or DeVito from the Giants.
DeVito? We already have DiNucci. I don't need DeVito.
Tanner
I don't need any more
McKee.
gesticulation of my
Tanner
quarterbacks.
McKee looks very good on the Eagles right now. Taylor
Because
Heineke.
it's the preseason.
Taylor Heineke on the Falcons.
Oh, my God. Can we
PJ
all-
Walker, Seattle. Brandon Allen or Josh Dobbs, 49ers. I went through every single team that has 3 quarterbacks. All these guys I just mentioned is their third stringers.
So here's-
all these guys.
Here's a question. Who do you like out of that bunch?
I like Zappy. I like Mason Rudolph.
Okay.
I like Trey Lance.
I've got 2 names. that you
Drew
didn't talk
Lock.
about.
They're all better than Trubisky, in
Now-
my opinion.
No, I've got 2 ideas. Now you're
I like
not wrong.
I like Heineken.
Heineken?
I call them Heineken. As your backup.
I hate the idea of Taylor Heineke because everybody talks themselves into it ever since he was good with the Redskins. And then what has he done since? Multiple teams have screwed up hiring Heineke and then trusting him with
Well,
starts.
okay.
I just want to get this out here.
Chad Kelly is being listed in the comments.
Whoa! Everywhere he goes, he's the best. CFL, USFL.
He's the best right up until he assaults a woman
Exactly.
or an elderly couple with a vacuum
He was
cleaner.
drafted last, I believe, by Denver.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure he's great right up until, like I said, he assaults a child at an ice cream truck.
But all those guys I mentioned,
Now, today it was announced that Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Malik Willis are both fighting for their jobs. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is being shot by the Browns because they believe he has the most long-term upside and can bring them a draft pick. Taylor Huntley Tyler Huntley is a quarterback who took the Ravens into the playoffs almost like to the doorstep.
He's just like Lamar.
To the doorstep of beating the Bengals the year they went to the AFC title game against the Chiefs. They could have knocked them out in the first round. Wild card game. They could have knocked them out. So he's not a terrible quarterback. He has NFL experience. He has playoff experience. There is every reason in the world for an NFL football team to hang on to a quarterback like Huntley. Dorian Thompson-Robinson was a draft pick, but it's clear that they think he can bring a bigger haul in return than he can being their fourth quarterback because they don't want to carry four. They have Jameis Winston as their second.
Oh, that means they're going to cut him. Or a 7th round
So
pick.
they're putting him up for trade. Now, Malik Willis fighting with Mason Rudolph. You know what Mason Rudolph did last year? He led the Steelers to this unbelievable wild card playoff berth that nobody thought was possible early in the season because Kenny Pickett was ass. Like he was what comes in those capsules, those they call it what is it? Fart bombs? Those fart bombs that you buy on Amazon and you throw them on the ground.
I
and the
don't
whole
buy
room
any
stinks?
bombs on Amazon.
Why not? What are you doing with them? You're using Amazon wrong. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Malik Willis. They're both young quarterbacks who have sub $2 million cap hits for the next 2 seasons. So in theory, let's say you decide Trubisky's going to be out for a while. DiNucci ain't doing it. This Anthony Brown, whoever, you might as well have signed Chris Kruger as much as I know how that guy can play NFL football. Hypothetically, you're only giving them a 5th, 6th, or 7th round draft pick, which is a pick that I would think is a franchise that's trying to be frugal and rebuild. You want to draft a developmental backup quarterback anyway to teach him your system, to a guy who can replicate some of the athletic things Josh does, who can, in a pinch, in the middle of a game, if you have to Frank Reich this fucking thing, you can trust him to come in and not fuck up a quarter of football. Right? That's who you're looking for. So you can either go spend a draft pick in 2025, getting a guy who then has to be groomed because he's a late round draft pick and molded and spend years learning. Or you can go trade for a Dorian Thompson-Robinson who has had a pretty impressive preseason. It might cost you a 5th rounder, but it's a 5th round pick that I would have hoped you would have spent on a quarterback anyway. And now what you're getting is a guy who will be a 3rd-year pro on your roster who can then learn your playbook and your players and the culture and kind of get into what it is to be a Buffalo Bill. And he's only making $1.4 million a year for the next 2 seasons. Now, when you go into 2025, you've got this guy. He's here. And he understands what's going on. He understands the receivers. He knows the room. He knows the playbook. You've already done the work. And then potentially you can sign him as a backup out of that deal for the same money you're giving Trubisky now. It just makes too much sense to do it.
You could.
So, let me put it this way, as I take one parting snarky shot as we end the show. If the money was the same, what would you rather drive, Bob? A 2018 Mazda 3 with a ton of miles on it and some really predictable issues. You know, flaking paint, the ABS system is flaring up. You don't know if it's reliable. Or do you want to go with a 2023 Mazda 3 hatchback? It might look stupid when you do it, but it has fewer miles and might actually be the better vehicle. What would you take?
Obviously, the second choice.
I'm going first choice, not a hatchback because I don't live in Portland.
Wrong. The correct answer is neither because Mazdas are for morons. Chris, you idiot.
No,
You said, what would you rather take?
I know.
I didn't know there was none of the above.
I'm just shitting on his car. It's parked out there in the garage. He drives a Mazda, and I think
I
it's
drive
fucking
a
hilarious.
high-performance Mazda 3.
A high performance.
It
That's an oxymoron. A high
It
performance
is high
Mazda.
performing because I am the performance. It was a great driver behind
Did
the
you just
wheel.
say that about a
He
linebacker, high-performing play earlier?
He might drive a terrible vehicle, but my point remains. You always want to invest in something that still has a higher ceiling. We've seen the Trubisky ceiling. What, are you going to wait 6 weeks for this asshole to come in here and show us what we saw on Saturday? Nah.
I agree, but there's not a lot of
Nah.
there's not a lot of film on. Who'd you just say?
Don't care.
O'Brien,
Don't care because I'm already thinking about
Costanza. What's his name?
Because it doesn't matter.
I want Huntley. Give me him for a fifth.
Dorian Thompson-Robinson. But the idea is
Zappy.
it doesn't matter because he's not going to play. And if he does play, the Bills are a lottery pick team anyway. I think that you could save money, then make yourself more competitive in the future and solve your backup quarterback issue going forward. And you could do it now. You could do it right now. And it wouldn't be that hard. I'm just putting it out there. It's just the way one drunk guy with a Utica club in his hand feels. Now, how do you feel after doing your first live podcast? Is it
I feel
weird?
great.
Yeah, that's right.
The first one, I was shitting my pants because I thought that one was live. I was like this. I thought I was like on air. I thought I was on.
And now look, and no one made
Yeah.
fun of you.
You're
You did
always
well.
on air.
You're
when the
always on
mics
air.
are live. Whether it's,
You got 17 cameras in front of me. You got 3 lights.
He's got 3 lights on him alone. He's
How much is your electrical bill? Like
a lot.
what is this?
Oh, the meter spins, baby.
yeah.
Holy sh!
Yeah, everybody's got 2 lights. Drew's got 2 lights. You got 2 lights, one right up
The
above you.
electric
I got
company in Monopoly.
light.
Constantly
Yeah.
land on it. Roll the dice again. What do you mean? Times 4. What?
Guys, this has been a lot of fun. I'm really happy we got to do this. I'm pumped we got Bob in the studio just to see what all this is about. And I'm happy that the preseason is almost over. Cross your fingers, pray to God we make it out of this next one in one piece because I can't take any. These injuries are literally killing us.
Claypool, damn it.
Claypool did.
The human vending machine Tyreek Hill called him last year. What do you mean? He looks like a vending machine. He eats snacks. That's why every Bills fan, we got Claypool. Yeah. I'm like, he's a human vending machine.
I like that Tyreek Hill made fun of a guy who left the team. Like, that's the perfect. Yeah, sure, give me that guy. Yeah, I want the guy who candy falls out of his pocket.
He loves Sherfield. He was mad. He's like, whoa. What do you mean you're going to the Bills?
It had to be really insulting that Sherfield caught that touchdown in the back of the end zone in that game.
He was solid. He was solid 3 on the fins.
It had
Then
to
he's like,
hurt.
I want to go to a team that's better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Guys, this has been a lot of fun. Where can everybody find your podcast?
Twitter on.
Beers, baby.
Sorry,
That was
you can find me
his.
on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and every other major platform. You can find us on Twitter X, whatever they call it now. Sports Gone Postal at Sports Gone Post. We are 3 guys in NWO t-shirts. We like wrestling too.
I just saw James Payne in the comments. Quarterback Yahtzee by the Bills, Steelers, and Raiders.
I love Minshew. That should be your backup, but he's a starter
Minshew.
now.
Dude.
Love him.
Also, do you see that facial hair? Way
I
too
love
intense.
Minshew.
Dude, Minshew, if he's not married, would clean up.
4 years ago,
down
I'm
on
like,
Chippewa.
Minshew should be our backup.
Minshew would dominate Cowboys on Chippewa.
Tank Ninja in the
With that
comments.
hair.
I'm just now looking at the comments myself. Tank Ninja, McDaniel's reaction to that catch was the best. Yeah. He's like, it's like, dude, close your mouth or I'll put a hook in it, you trout. Get the hell out of here.
I got all the notes, guys. It's right here, baby.
Guys, this has been a lot of fun, but we got to get the hell out of here. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. That's Bob Kateris. And this has been your Rock Pile Report.